Getting it real with RealChunWai on the hottest topics, frank, engaging and candid. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Come August 31st, Malaysia turns 65 years old. Where is our country heading to next? Joining us tonight is Zubedy to talk about the leadership in Malaysia, or is it the lack of leadership? Welcome,
Good evening,
Zubedy.
Malaysia and followers from around the world. Our guest for tonight is none other than my friend Anas Zubedy, the founder of Zubedy Sdn Bhd, businessman, author, and many more things. Good evening, Anas. How are you?
Good evening. Salam sejahtera to you. I'm fine, thank you. Very fine. And don't forget Rasa Buster also.
Our discussion tonight is, of course, on the run-up to the National Day on August 31st, which we will turn 65 years old. And that we know when we talk about independence, it's the story of a group of extraordinary individuals, leaders who were brought together by this sense of unity and purpose to serve the country, to bring Malaysia forward. And that was what our founding fathers were all about. They sacrificed tremendously. Even though you and I were not born yet in 1957, but when we watch those old black and white grainy newsreels of the Tunku, I mean, it still gives me this goosebumps, like, wow, right? It's like, wow, the source of Merdeka, as if that, wow, man, that magic moment to be there. Anas, I've been quite lucky in the sense that I was able to meet the Tunku himself because he was the chairman of the Star Media Group from the late 1970s until 1984. So I was there as a junior reporter. I could not understand then. I did not appreciate the value that I could actually meet and talk to the Tunku, but I did. Okay, I visited him quite often in my capacity as a reporter to spend time with him, and I really had real close, up and close contact with this man. And we were also very lucky that his granddaughter Sharifah Tan worked in the Star, so there were a lot of things that I heard and actually met him in real person. Now, when we talk about Merdeka, yes, I mean, many stories have been talked about how the nation had grown, move on, the things that they sacrificed for the Merdeka. But the central issue is still about leadership. Without the Tunku, we wouldn't be where we are today. And of course, beside Tunku, there were the others. I mean, his leadership and his group of people were very multiracial. He took them to London. They were all multiracial, and his first cabinet was also multiracial. Now, I want to ask you, Anas, what is it that separated Bapak Merdeka, Tunku, when it comes to him? What was it that was really different from the rest of the other prime ministers and other leaderships subsequently? What is your view?
Yeah. Well, I think like you, you're right. I think he's very special. There's so many things about him we can talk about, but I would like to talk about maybe 5 key areas. Yeah. Number one, I think let's go back to basics. The basic is that what is the role of a leader? And if it boils down everything, at the end of the day, a leader needs to remove uncertainties. A leader must remove uncertainties and able to paint a future that we want to go to. And he was very capable of doing it. He managed to remove uncertainties among the Malays, the Indians and Chinese, and later Sabah, Sarawak, and of course, for a while, Singapore. Yeah. And not just the Malays, he managed to remove uncertainties of the rulers, the Raja, and the Rakyat. And among the Chinese, the business people and the workers, also the Indians. His ability to remove uncertainties is very, very strong. And I think that's it. Unless you remove uncertainties, you cannot lead. Number two, I would say that we must remember that this man, Tunku, he has a very strong belief in taking care of human lives and peace. He wants, peace. He practiced Islam in a sense. Islam is peace, a peaceful religion. So he was not in a hurry to get what you call our Merdeka. He said, let's wait, if you were to fight for Merdeka, then things would have been very different. Many Malaysians would have died. Number two is we have created a country with a very strong military backup. And because Tunku is willing to wait, and he says, let's wait for a few more years, Of course, the British took a lot of money out for a while, to sponsor themselves after the Second World War. But Tunku waited 1957, and we got it on a silver platter. And until today, we have a civilian government. Unlike, for example, our neighbors, where the military plays a huge role, not in Malaysia. That's the specialty, And number three, he has what I call the group-to-group leadership, of which later I hope we can talk about it.
Sure.
Now, group-to-group leadership means the ability to pool different groups of people towards a common goal. And that is so important, especially during 1957. We are all united yet, everybody is like not sure of each other. He managed to pull the Malay, the Chinese, the Indian, the rich, the poor, and later Sabah and Sarawak to come together. It's group-to-group leadership, which later I think we should deal with. Number four, of course, his ability to actually, amazingly get his team to come out and work with the British to come out with our constitution, which is, of course, the what you call the summary, the summation of all this group-to-group ability. Everything is parked inside this beautiful constitution that we have. The role, the position of the sultans, and how we're gonna negotiate our what you call that ethnic and religious differences. Brilliant. It was brilliant. And number five, on a personal note, I think this one both you and I would like this. He's an authentic leader. He's not a hypocrite. One of the things I heard was this. He asked his people to accept as he is. Accordingly, I heard the story that before he accepted the post of the UMNO president, he said, look guys, I do two things which is not really good. I drink brandy or something. He's a drinker, and at the same time he likes horses,
Horse
racing. He says, can you accept this? If you can accept this, then I can be your leader. So in other words, he was not willing to be a leader who is going to pretend in front of people. And I think we really need that, RealChunWai. Authentic, unpretentious leadership. And I think there are many more, but I thought I'll stop at five, RealChunWai. It's special in that sense.
Right. We also need to remind ourselves as we approach our National Day that this country has really, really been very lucky. As you said that we got our independence on the silver platter, that there were no fight. We didn't have to go to war or to go to a civil war or to fight against the British. We got it on a silver platter, and except for 1969, except that dark blot, this has been 65 years of peace. I think it's really amazing how our leaders, in many ways, have accepted it. Just a quick sidetrack. Even when in the last G14, when the Barisan Nasional and the UMNO just lost the election, the results were actually accepted peacefully. Imagine the consequences. I mean, you have been 60 years in government and then you lost it. In other countries, I think that people would have, they caused a lot of problems, racial problems, they caused a lot of sabotage, but they accepted it, and knowing that they may have to go to jail subsequently. And we know that all these are processes that's taking shape, and the consequences they would have faced as a result of losing the election. So in many ways that as a country, I know we have a lot of criticism against this country. I myself have been really critical, but on this occasion, I think that we should also be quite fair and to look at things, take some steps backward and look at it and look, this really has been a really peaceful country. And a lot of this got to stay with our leaders and the people of Malaysia, Anas, okay.
The genius of constitution,
go ahead, sorry.
And the genius of constitution, you see, the constitution, when Tunku and his team, created the constitution, he had so many check and balances. During the last GE, one of the group of people that really played their role are our rulers, our sultans. They actually played a big role. So you notice his ability to create a group-to-group document in our constitution is amazing, And he and his team, he's not alone. He and his team,
I like the part where you say that look, he was non-pretentious, and that I mean we know his love for whiskey, brandy, and in horses. That is a fact. I mean, I as a reporter who was part of the Star Group, I had access to meeting him. I know he was talking about horses. Okay, so he didn't pretend, but He lived a very simple lifestyle, a very dignified lifestyle. I think most of us have seen the picture of his car breaking down, and
Yeah,
he came out to look at the car. I mean, I cannot imagine this kind of thing happening in the present day to our leaders. I don't think they will take it. Okay, but this was a man who take life very easily. He wanted basically to be the happiest prime
Prime
minister.
Minister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I want to ask this question. I mean, these were elites, okay? Tan Cheng Lock, Ton San Siu Sin, BT Sambatan, they were all elites, okay? I mean, these were people who came from a rich family. Tunku came from royalty and everything. Why do you think that despite their background from the elites, they could still reach out and embrace unity and hold the country together? And at that time, we're talking about the 50s, people were not very educated, okay? But he could bring all he and his men could bring everyone together. Why do you think that that was the leadership skill that they had?
I think they were elites, but they also in touch with the ground.
Mhm.
Tunku was a very popular DO.
Yeah.
You read about him a lot of, like you say, very fantastic stories. He was we call anak raja berjiwa rakyat.
Mhm.
He's always playing things like even sepak
Yeah.
takraw with them. Even Tun Tan Cheng Lock, he's a Peranakan Chinese. He's
Yeah.
not someone new. He not only he understand the concerns of the Chinese, he also
Yeah.
understood the Malays.
Mm.
And our Indian leaders,
Yeah.
gang, they were actually many of them came
Mhm.
from what you call the government servant, which they have to deal with the rakyat on a day-to-day basis. So these people are not just elites. They are elites that have to go down to the ground. And I think that is why they're special. And number two, I think we must not forget the leaders of the past. I'm sorry, maybe I'm being nostalgic. Yeah. The leaders of the past, they are willing to sideline the extremes within their team.
Yeah.
They're willing to do that. I like to tell the story about one of the person that we tend to forget is Tun T.H. Tan.
Yeah.
T.H. Tan, actually the story goes that Tun T.H. Tan and also Tan Sri T.H. Tan and Tunku, when they went to Britain, they basically, sideline what the extremes want. The extreme Malays want this, Of course, there's always a group of people who demand more than more. And of course, and both of them got big bats from both sides. I mean, for example, the Tunku has a group of Malays who felt that he sold out to the Chinese, and Chinese feel that T.H. Tan sold out to the to the Malays.
Yeah.
The truth is, these two are willing to compromise and say, let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at how to build a nation. Let's not look at the short term. Let's look at the long term. And the willingness to sideline the extremists within your own group is a leadership trait that maybe right now we are losing.
Yeah.
Many of us are our leaders today are so scared to sideline these extremists, so much so that they may be a minority, but they are taking the front view now. They are right at the front. So I think this is a specialty about our previous leaders. They were very sure of themselves, and they are willing to take those unpopular decisions. And I think we need that. We really need that. Yeah. And I thought that, yeah.
So sorry, since Anas is already fast forward to 2022, okay, the present day context, okay. Now, you know that in Malaysia and perhaps in other parts all around the world, there's little what do you call it? There's little admiration, a little trust of politicians. Not only do they trust politicians, of course, they also don't trust journalists, lah. Okay, they side by side. Okay, why do you? Why do you think that there's so little trust for politicians and lawyers as well? Okay, now why is it that they think that you want to be a politician, cannot be trusted one? All these people, they say one thing, and then they mean another thing. Why do you think that they have come to that level during Tunku's time? Wow, and they were respected. They were people of good integrity, respected. Now it's like politicians, now same one lah. You want to make money only lah. They won't do it one lah. Why do you think that there's this situation now?
I feel that number one, I feel that there are many good men. We have many good leaders. I don't think
good men and women, right?
Yes,
and women.
I think we do have, let's say we talk about Malaysia, not just the world. In fact, I want to say something very controversial now. I know I've been attacked before. You see, our Prime Minister factory has been UMNO. Right? So UMNO has been producing even the the Prime Minister showcased by opposition was an ex-UMNO, right? So, you see, the thing is, UMNO has not prepared enough talents. Okay, later I'll come to why people don't trust and all that, to go for leadership. Yeah, perhaps there are two main reasons for it. One is, money politics. Now, money politics actually, just like Rasuah, it distorts, really, in Rasuah, the people who can do the job will not get the job. So similarly, in our political parties, the person who's supposed to be the better leader may not get the leadership role because he's not willing to pay money. I think that's one real issue. Money politics that started in the late 80s, 90s until today have killed what you call the factory to make what you call the best leaders we want. Number two is this. Just now we spoke about what you call it, the group to group ability. Now, you see, there is a very popular model in management organizational theory. It's called the CATS model, KATZ, CATS model. And CATS model say there are three kind of skills needed in an organization. What I call the technical skills, the human skills, and the conceptual skills. In the human skills, we have at the ground level, you must be able to handle one-to-one skills. That means I know how to deal with my boss, my colleague, my subordinate. By the time you become middle managers, you must know how to do more than just one-to-one. You have to do one-to-group. I must be able to talk to a group of people. But the highest level of ability of human skills are group-to-group leaders. How do I talk to different groups of leaders? So in Malaysia today, we are not producing that kind of leader. You see, to become a Prime Minister of Malaysia, it's not enough the Malays listen to you. The Chinese, the Indian, don't forget Sabah and Sarawak. And today, we also have the young and the old and the urban and non-urban. Things are getting more and more what you call sophisticated. That's the reason why in some of my talks, I say the reason why Lim Kit Siang will never become Prime Minister, when he speaks, only the Chinese will listen to him. Last time, I like to say, not the reason why he was a nice man, what you call it, Togru Nik Aziz, the late Togru Nik Aziz, when he speaks, only a certain group of Malays. You see, I don't remember when Tun took over before 2018, the Pakatan Harap, I suggested that they may win the election. The reason because Tun has a group ability. Ability to pull. These are the things that we don't have. You see, currently, UMNO leaders and many of the Malay leaders, they want to win the Malay vote. It's not enough. You must be able to win the Chinese, the Indians, don't forget Sabah, Sarawak, the young and the old, and so on and so forth. To a certain extent, I know people attack you when I say that. Ismail Sabri, in his quietness, he's quite strong in group-to-group leadership. His ability to balance this it's very delicate right now. His ability to balance for the last 1 year, he's already 1 year. He has group-to-group skill, maybe, Don't underestimate that man, So I think that's one. And number two is, why we don't trust, I'll put aside journalists, why we don't trust our politicians? They're inconsistent, bro. When you're inconsistent, you cannot remove uncertainties. You break the basic rule of leadership. You're inconsistent, I can't trust you anymore. Then I don't know, no. Are you saying the truth or not? No. So you cannot remove uncertainties. And I think because of that, many Malaysians see that you are looking for power rather than you're willing to change here, change there, jump here, jump there, work with this fella. Last time you say these fellas will go to hell and these fellas are horrible. Now and then suddenly you partner, these kind of things are sending very uncertain feeling towards the perception for us, So the goal is no longer people, and money politics and Rasuah, and it is not just one political party, you can see it's coming out here and there. And whether it's true or not, we don't know, but the perception is that. So there's no real unwavering principle, who is there? I'm going to stay with my principle. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to waver. We don't have that kind of, strong leadership that's willing to do that. And of course, finally, hypocrisy, lack of honesty. You see, the thing like this, Junoy, our politicians, as well as we who are following them, we are not able to be honest on both sides. So the other side do the same thing. We will say it's wrong. Our side do it. We say it's okay. And I think that is taking away a lot of trust between human beings, we and our leaders. And I think that is a real problematic thing. Like you say correctly, we are not really, we don't really trust. We are very uncertain of our leaders. Can they remove uncertainties? They can't at this point of time.
I think that perhaps the others many of these politicians that we have in mind, those that are still playing to the gallery, are playing to these race and religious issue. Perhaps the most of them, quite a number of them, are people in their 70s, 60s, and perhaps even 80s. Quite difficult for them to change, and also that the composition and the base of their political parties comprise of people who are of this age group. I agree with you. There are many emerging young leaders, people in their 40s, 30s, even 20s, whom I see there's hope. There's hope for Malaysia. And these people are coming up, and their time will eventually come. If they're in their 20s, I don't want to mention names now. I mean, I see them in UMNO, I see them in MUDA, I see them even in DAP, I see them in MCA. I see these young people that's coming up, and for them to change overnight, that's not possible because that you have all these old guys who are still around. But I think their time will come, and they have time on their side, which means that they can afford to lose 1 or 2 elections, but their time would come. So I see that there's hope in it. People in UMNO, like, for example, they come to mind, people like Khairi. I know that he's in a very tight position. Okay, he tries very hard to provide this Malaysian identity. I've never seen him use race or religion. Even Azalina Othman has come up very well. It's quite different from the old Azalina that no. So they have come up very well. People like Nurul, of course, and Syed Siddiq. I mean, these people are emerging quite fast. So there is really hope for the nation. I know that a lot of us are very pessimistic. I mean, I go around, people tell me, yeah, I think your children should migrate. I tell my children, don't come back. I've got someone in my neighborhood. This is a Malay family in my neighborhood. I'm going to downgrade. I'm going to downsize my house lah. Kita 2 orang saja. Anak saya tak nak balik lah. Saya suruh dia jangan balik. So you hear this thing, it's like that's not good for the country. There is still hope. So as you said, there's still good people that would come out now. Against this backdrop, okay, or that they're still been held back by this race and religious issue. We are 65 years old, okay. During Tunku's time, they already settled it. They settled it, okay. There's already buried. We have moved on. And why do you think that this thing has keep on haunting us after year? Every PRU, race and religion cannot die. They're forever there. Why?
You know, there's a Chinese saying. I think it's 6 sai ke ho tai. You know, the chicken that you know can easily be caught and slaughtered.
Yeah.
And I think this is how racial politics and what you call religious politics is being used. In other words, it's a chicken and egg thing problem. And the older politicians, as you say correctly, and I hope the younger one will not become one of them and realize, get the easy way out, and it's easier for me to cut off or cheat, or rather, do that to the people who believe in me. So what happened is this: by using race politics, they know that actually the two most the two political parties that benefited most from religious and racial politics is actually UMNO and DAP. I'm sorry, whether it is going to be very, very controversial. UMNO and DAP are the two fellows who are actually using this method. For example, if UMNO does something for the Malays, all DAP has to do is, you see, they do it for the Malay, not for everybody. Actually, there's also racial politics, it's done in what you call a reverse order. And it's I don't know how long we're gonna carry this, but it looks like it's gonna be a long time. Why? Because number one, our political parties are organized in that way. Number two, our schools, our children are still divided in many ways. Our pertempatan, where we live, is actually separated. And now there are people who want to even separate where we eat. The Muslim must eat there, non-Muslim must eat there. So all these are actually not going to help in the long run. We need to have something like what we see in Sarawak, where they say, to hell with you, we're going to do our own. We need to have someone like, the Johor, the ruler of Johor, the Sultan of Johor, who will just say, get lost, you cannot say this, what you call, I think last time there was the controversy of, the Dobi shop, that only for the Muslims. So I think there is a need to counter that. And as you say correctly, we have a lot of young people who wants to go out of this 6 sai ke ho tai kind of way of doing things. But, I do not know how they're going to fight a very tough fight. So I think this will stay. This will stay. Because it so happened that is how we organize our society, and until and when the groundwork has changed, it's very difficult for the politicians. Politicians will still be politicians, you know. At the end of the day, they want to get the votes, you know. So you ask me.
I disagree with you in some ways, I know that the race and religion has been haunting us for 6 decades, and I don't know for how long. But the Malay population, the Muslim population, grows very fast. Okay, I mean, Malays have got 5, 6 kids. Okay, I mean, Chinese will probably have 1 kid, 2 kids. That's it. Okay, and of course the Chinese and marry very late. Okay, they're 30s. Okay, I mean, Malays marry very early. I mean, you're one of the exception. Okay. By right, you should have been a grandfather. Most Malays in their 50s are already grandfather. My friends are grandfather. Okay, now you see that at some point, and it's happening, the demographic will change. The Chinese population is now 25% and it's dropping. At some point, it might even be just 20% or even more drastically less. Okay, Indians is, as we know, there are more foreigners than Indians now. So that is a fact. That's a fact. Which is why there's no predominantly Indian parliamentary constituency, because there's really none. Okay, so it will come to that where it's very hard for extremist politicians who use race or religion to still continue to blame things on the non-Muslims. Okay, I mean, like, look at this Hadi Awang. I mean, that I do not know what he consuming. Okay, I mean, to blame the non-Muslims, okay, and non-Malays for being part of this corruption in this country. I'm like, hello, okay. What are you thinking? Okay, so he can continue doing that, okay, in the coming years, because we will be so small. Okay, we are beginning to be the minorities of the minority. Okay, so it will come a time where that's not possible. Okay, and then the second thing, of course, I think the place where we stay has also changed. In many ways, the new economy policy of offering discounts to discount actually helps. It helps. Okay, so places like Subang Jaya is very multiracial. Okay. Petaling Jaya is very multiracial now. It has changed because, and that in 1969, if you want to burn down the house of a Chinaman, you can tell, okay? But now you can't, because all the houses are very racially mixed, okay? And the new economic policy play a great role in that. It helps, okay? Now,
one way to do, if let's say you want to make sure that you got no choice, is to reorganize our what you call that, delineation, whereby we need to make sure that it does not have what you call too much of we must make sure that it's mixed. That's what Tunku did, and I think we want to increase, let's say, Sabah and Sarawak to 33% of number of MPs, you know, things like that. Then you cannot. You see, you have to understand, you know, Chunwai, in Sri Lanka, for example, the 10 million is only 10%. But yet they use the 10 million as a reason why they did what they did for 30 years of war. So I mean, for example, one of the biggest I would say argument, they say, oh, the Christians are taking over the country. Come on, you guys only what, 8% of the country?
10% or less.
So you see, you can always use it because people don't have So what we need to do is to organize the structures, you know, make sure that you cannot win if you don't have, let's say, the group-to-group ability. Actually, the Indians, if I'm not mistaken, have 56. They can actually, what you call, have major influence. 56 out of 222. In other words, if there's a split, the Indian vote can really help you. You know, things like this is what Tunku did. Yeah.
So when all the constituencies, when you have this a few Malay-based or Muslim-based parties fighting it out, actually the non-Malays are the decisive voters. So it's important for politicians to understand that, look, it doesn't make sense for you to run down or to make a non-Muslims or non-Malays anger, because they are there, their votes are there. No, even though they're very small, but they can be decisive in a tight situation. So they need to,
Basically, if you want two-third majority, you have to be the leader of Malaysia, not one particular race. If not, you'll never get your two-third majority. To UMNO, to Barisan Nasional, to Pakatan Harapan. Just remember this, all right? If you want to have two-third majority, you cannot be the leader of one particular group of people. You need to have group-to-group ability, where you remove the uncertainties of people, of many groups of people in Malaysia, and you'll get back your two-third majority. You see, Chunwai, our UMNO leaders of the past understood this. and they make sure that they can win the what you call the hearts, and not just the Malays. Right now, for the last many years, they will swing to like today, everybody wants to get the Malay vote because they feel the Malay vote can make sure they win. Yes, you can win, but you're not going to get a majority. You're not going to get a majority.
In countries around the world, issues of embracing diversity has become really the norm. In Malaysia, we are still struggling over this. Okay, we should not be struggling over this. In a way, as you said, that we are still trying to get used and get to the new prime minister who has just been a year old, trying to size up each other, because that he was not holding a high-profile ministry, so not much is known to him. And of course, he comes from a background which is more Malay, unlike the Tunku, or even Tun Razak, okay, and Najib. They were very exposed and very urbane in their way. Now, I agree with you that he has been able to actually resist a lot of pressure, amazing pressure. I mean, from his own party, from Bersatu. I mean, who was a deputy prime minister at this time? I mean, going to an election and they're talking about wanting a deputy prime minister, and you had a religious group. I think he has held on quite well. Yeah, he perhaps he needs a better narrative. Yeah. I mean, over the 1 year, he has not shot well enough that the third quarter actually the Malaysia did very well economically. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and it is true that Malaysia's inflation rate is low because of course it's heavily subsidized. But he has done well. But the message have not been properly conveyed to, and of course that his keluarga Malaysia, I think is a good idea. Not quite a good idea. It's just that the optics need to be improved. Given the fact that this country is predominantly Malay, so when you have these big gatherings of keluarga Malaysia, the picture will come up. I don't see any Chinaman. I don't see him in this. It's just Malay. Okay. I don't think that is his sport, but he doesn't need 10,000 people to come. He needs just 10 people, 100 people, and it reflects the multiracial diversity of it, and that look itself. So I hope that if the prime minister or his boys are listening, look, you need to improve on the optics, okay? So it wouldn't be a mono-ethnic gathering, okay?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now I want us to move on a little bit. Okay, now we have this problem in Malaysia, and you're part of this Rasuah buster thing. Okay, corruption is a serious problem, and that's an understatement. Okay, 65 years, and I think it has gone worse. And this culture, okay, this is become entrenched. Corruption is like when we read the news, yeah. Sometimes we already like we don't even react anymore. It's already like it's part of it. So what have your Rasuah buster been doing? What are the impacts we have seen, or is there any at all?
I feel that we at Rasuah buster has done. I would considering we're only like 1 year plus. We've done quite a good job now. Almost every political party says they're anti-Rasuah. Almost every one of them now is talking about it. Rasuah has become one of the forefront topic. And we feel that is good. At least now people are talking about it. And we hope that by the time the GE15 comes, it becomes one of the more important, what you call rules of making a decision, who to vote. I think that's very important. And we hope that that's what's going to, at the same time, of course, we are looking at long term. We are going right down to the ground. We are catching up. We have a 15-20 year plan besides the medium term and short term plan. Because at the end of the day, we need to change the next, what you call, generation. Those kids below 10 years old. We're also working in that long term, what you call viewpoint, or rather strategy. So I feel that the amount of time we had since last January last year, and now we are about 1.5 years old, amount of work we have done and what we have got so far, not too bad. I agree with you that we are getting worse in terms of Rasuah. We are turning semi-pro. We're not pro yet. We are number.
I thought we have reached that level already.
Pro means you talk to one person and he get the money, he distribute right down to the ground. Today, you still have to talk to a few people when you want to do Rasuah. So in other words, there's no kingpin. You see, that's the reason why we are about number 60 in the world, number 57 to 60 in the world. Once we get the top 15, top 20, that means we have gone pro, professional. We're still semi-pro, and we don't want to go pro. We want to actually take it away. And I think it's not too late. It's not too late. And I hope it's not too late. I hope it's not too late. Yeah. Yeah. So I thought we have done quite a bit. We have managed to get Rasuah, anti-Rasuah as one of the main topic to talk about. We brought it to the forefront. Yeah.
Okay, you have come this far. You have done the education part. This one will be tougher, perhaps. Okay, you know that when you politicians will talk about everything, and only some would, those in opposition, they had to talk about corruption now. Okay, they're not in government yet, or they were just in government for too short a period. Okay, and those that's holding power are very reluctant to talk about corruption, or to even pledge themselves to commit themselves to talking about fighting corruption. You hardly hear from them. The GE is coming. How would you want your team to get politicians to talk about fighting corruption?
I think what we want to do is, first and foremost, if we can convince and pressure political parties to offer us younger people, or people who have never been too active in politics. And I think it happened in Johor election, which is which is good, and Merdeka election. If let's say they can give us new faces, I think that'll be a step forward. Yeah. If you see one of the things we pushed was that. Yeah. And at the same time, we want our people at the ground level to make a smart decision and choose one that they feel which is less likely to be involved in actually corruption. And at the end of the day, we have to, short term, we have to do that kind of who to vote kind of thing. In the longer term, of course, we have to change the structure, the Political Funding Act, the anti-Qatar, all these are very important, which of course we are working with our, what you call, our consortium of NGOs and all that. It is a longer term thing, but I would say we should look at 15, 20 years work, not just the next few years. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in all fairness, all these steps are taking place, these progressive steps. Right. And I never imagined that it would happen so fast, but it is good. I think the democracy in this country is actually maturing.
Right.
Yeah, and we want it to be faster, but it's not possible. But it's maturing, and I think the pace is correct.
Yeah. Actually, right now, RealChunWai, we already have what you call state organization. Yeah. Every state now we have the Rasuah Buster at the state level. So later we go one down lower and lower. So it takes some time to build that kind of infrastructure. It's not enough to just give speeches. I don't think so. It works.
Yeah. Another point I want to bring up. Okay, this one about the Prime Minister. In fairness, okay, I know the Prime Minister comes under a lot of criticism, because the mood in this country is that everybody's very critical. People don't like his sense of dressing. How much he pays for his shirts, but just a couple I think that we need to put in perspective. Must give him credit that he has not interfered in the judicial process.
Yes.
I think that's very important. Okay, and I'm sure he would have received a lot of pressure from his party leaders who are facing court charges. I'm sure he would have. Okay. Second thing is that I think that the release and the declassification of the documents on the literal combat ship, the LSC, I think it is a good step, because that we do not see this previously. Many will not want to have this kind of things to be declassified, because it will only make the government looks worse. But by agreeing to have these documents released, I think that says a lot of things about what he has done. So I think that we must give the credit as we head towards the Merdeka. Now, you deal a lot with young people. I'm sure that unless that the politicians live in another world, which sometimes they will have listened to young people of all races, different races, different religion. They are very expressive. Okay, they may not tell you openly, but if you follow the social media, it's full of their views. Okay, now, in the past, I've not heard of Malay family that says that tell their kids don't come back. Okay, or Malays who are overseas saying that I'm staying back. I don't hear that, and then you hear a lot of that from the middle class Chinese families, perhaps. Okay, what is your message to Malaysian kids, Malaysian parents who are thinking along this line?
Well, you see, the thing is this. One is there are many people, not just in Malaysia, who wants to live in another country. Normally it's for economic reason. Yeah, it's just that we do not want political reason to push it even further. Yeah, I think I personally feel that there must be enough talent to stay back and not migrate and make this country, better. Yeah, and we need to always be optimistic. We need to always be positive. Of course, occasionally it's okay to be doubtful and critical, but we need to have what you call hope. Yeah, and you see, if we cannot see victory in the mind, we won't even try. And I think that's the problem now. Yeah, we cannot see victory in the mind. And right now, you're right. Recently I had a few groups of young people. You'll be surprised, Chunwai. They asked me, "Hey, who to vote?" We are very confused. So this is where there's no one removing uncertainty. So a lot of young people. These are people between 20 to 30 years old. They don't even know who they want to vote anymore because they are too confused. Yeah, and this is happening now. And those who are going to go leave the country are probably, number one, they are the richer ones. They are more well-to-do. Number two, are they very smart ones. So this is something we do not want to happen. There will be some leaving for economic reason. The country we must do something to tell these people that look, they still hope. If we do this and that, this is what we get. As I suggested earlier, Tunku managed to remove uncertainties. He managed to paint the future that we want to go to. Now, that is how what leaders have to do. And our leaders need to do that. Paint a future that says, hey, this is a country I want to be in. Yeah. Or at least it's worthy for me to do something here. I hope that not everybody, not too many will migrate. I hope not too many will migrate. We people like us in Chunwai, I'm turning 60, you're almost 60, I think, right? So we probably will go and stay. Let's say one of your kid is, let's say, in Australia, you may stay there for 3 months, you'll come back because you target your kid to come back here. So I think there will be some people who are doing what you call the dual home kind of thing.
Yeah.
We need to sell the idea that and of course the government must show that if our people do something, if we work at something, you'll get something in return. Productivity and ability to change is what we want. Not just the young, but also we, the so-called almost oldies. Malaysians should have hope. If you don't have hope, if we cannot see victory in the mind, we won't even try. If you think the mountain is too high, you're not going to climb it. If you think the book is too thick, you're not going to read it. So if you think whatever I do, even if I vote the right person, but that person is not going to become the leader of the country, then people won't go out and vote.
I want to end this show with a positive note.
Yes,
the British were our colonists. They were not nasties, okay, unlike the other countries, okay. And I think they left behind Malaysia strong institutions, the civil service, the judiciary. We inherited from them very strong institutions, which made Malaysia a very established and reliable place. Okay, and the fact that we are both speaking English besides Singapore and Malaysia, we were one. Okay, compared to the other ASEAN countries, because of our ability to speak good English, which makes Malaysia an asset for many investors who want to come to Malaysia. They are always, look in many variables. When someone wants to put money in Malaysia, they'll say, okay, your returns are very good. You can provide us the number of engineers, blah blah blah. But there are always these X factors, the cutting edges, which make us special. So English has always been one of them. Second thing, of course, is that the large Malay Muslim population allow us the entry point into big markets like Indonesia, for example, to the Middle East countries, the brotherhood between the Muslim and Muslim. These are really fantastic stuff, which Singapore can never even come near, or Philippines can come near, or Vietnam can come. They can never reach the Middle East, only the Muslims here. Then, of course, the Chinese here, the ability to speak Mandarin, okay, and that the networking and the relationship they have in China. This is something which no other ASEAN countries have. And of course, the Indians, they continue to have that relationship and their lines to India, another huge market. So by right, we should be capitalizing on our assets, the Malays, the Muslims, the Chinese, and the Indians, and the others. This is really so special, and I think that that makes Malaysia special. And like you and me, you and I come from Penang, we have always embraced diversity. We are used to it. So I want to end this with that note and a reminder that look, this is a beautiful country. This is a great country. Now, Anas, can I have the final parting words from you?
Yeah, okay. I think one of my favorite line, maybe I can share just one of my favorite line from the Quran. It says, "So lose not heart nor fall into despair. You must gain mastery if you're true in faith." And I think that's what we need to do. This August 31st and September 16th, let's relaunch ourselves. Let's we need to be able to look at the future and say, I can do something about it. And I think we can do something about it. And sooner or later, the oldies will listen to the young. So the young must define what they want, how their future is going to be. They must define it. And the young must come out and vote and say what I want. And don't just vote silently. Vote with a lot of what you call zest. Say this is what you want, and tell us oldies, tell all these political leaders, say, look, we don't want to leave this country, but this is what we want our future to be. And if possible, we hope that the young will come out in droves and the old will come out in droves, GE15, and choose the leaders you think most likely. Choose the right leader, the best leader, not because of political party or whatsoever. Choose the person you feel that will be least what you call corrupted. The person who's going to talk for everyone. Let's come out and do something. Let's the last few years we are so cooped up in the house. We're so cooped up with all these political issues. Let's just come out and say, I'm going to change things. And hope that within the next couple more years things get better. Next couple more election, things get even better for Malaysia. And selamat Hari Merdeka and selamat Hari Malaysia.
Thank you, Anas. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening, talking about the Tunku's days, the leadership, and what we aspire for Malaysia and for fellow Malaysians. Please follow Anas Zubedy and myself on social media. Please share, follow, and subscribe our social media. Thank you so much, and happy Merdeka. Merdeka!
Merdeka, yes.